Tonight on the South Today, opposition leader Christopher Luxon spends a few days in the south talking to locals and attending a classic rural event. Invercargill's mayor welcomes visitors from the Japanese sister city to discuss their relationship. And bursts of colour and thousands of people filled Dunedin's Chinese garden to mark the Year of the Rabbit. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Hannah Wilkins. National Party leader Christopher Luxon has been travelling around the lower South Island on a quick speaking tour, with water being one of the leading topics of conversation. The opposition leader spoke to residents in Gore and Invercargill, joking about bringing the rain south before fielding questions about local water reforms.
Southland supporters keen to catch the ear of National Party leader Christopher Luxon. Around 300 people turned out to a meeting at Invercargill's Transport World to hear his thoughts on climate resilience, agricultural emissions and local water reform. Luxon restated his party's opposition to the centralisation of local water assets under the controversial Three Waters reforms, outlining his preference for individual partnerships between local and central government. But speaking earlier in the day to a crowd of around 200 in Gore, he said cooperation between local bodies needs to improve before this can happen.
I really want to be able to come to Southland as a central government, make sure that Southland is joined up. I'm not interested in each district council having a slightly different view about things.
He says Australia offered a good example of local and national partnership on major infrastructure projects and believes a similar model could work here.
A good example would be the Hawke's Bay. 4 district councils, 1 regional council came together, said, look, we want to have a council-controlled organisation where the 3 water assets are actually owned locally.
Audiences made the most of the Q&A sessions to quiz the leader on a range of other issues, including pension levels, emission taxes and the Dunedin hospital build. And Luxon was keen to assure Southland audiences he's aware of the key issues facing rural communities ahead of this year's election. Across the South Today.
And in keeping with the agricultural theme of his trip, Christopher Luxon also checked out the popular Crank Up Festival in Edendale. The annual event celebrates the farming machines that keep the rural economy ticking over, with a focus on vintage tractors and the people who lovingly maintain them.
A celebration of all engines, great and small. A chance to ride on a 4-inch scale Burrell traction engine was just one of the draw cards at the 35th annual Edendale Crank Up. It's a rolling museum of vintage tractors and heritage farm equipment that's a fixture on Southland's rural calendar, with activities for all ages.
Well, there's really something here for everybody. We've got all sorts of parades going on all the time with different machinery of the different brands. There's all sorts of craft displays, there's steam vehicles.
There were also some shiny new trucks on parade, organisers keen to celebrate different motoring milestones from across the years.
We're celebrating 50 years of Mack trucks being assembled in New Zealand and a centenary of Kenworths, and as well as 110 years of Chevrolet, so it's a big event with all those very popular brands.
When the diesel smoke cleared, organisers said they were stoked with the turnout this year. Some of the rarest vintage vehicles will go back into storage until the next meet-up of the local Vintage Machinery Club. In Edendale, the South Today.
Invercargill's mayor was on hand this week to meet and greet a visiting delegation from the city of Kumagaya in Japan. The visit marks a 30-year relationship between the sister cities, and Mayor Nobby Clark was keen to welcome his Japanese counterpart in person.
A ceremonial exchange of gifts to renew a long-lasting partnership. Invercargill Mayor Nobby Clark sitting down to sign a new sister agreement with the Mayor of Kumagaya this week. Mayor Clark only took over the job last October, but he says this agreement is a milestone worth marking.
I'm not necessarily a fan of sister cities for the sake of sister cities, but this is quite a precious relationship that we've got that's been going for 30 years.
He believes the deal with the Japanese industrial city offers an important opportunity for Invercargill City to broaden its horizons. 3
of our secondary schools have exchange students that allows people to learn more about other parts of the world and to explore and to share with others.
The visitors from Kumagaya have 4 days in the southern city with a busy schedule ahead of them.
Tour to Tiwai, to look at the smelter. They're going to Bluff later on and having a dinner on the marae. We're going to Transport World to see the fantastic transport museum that we've got there, and having a general look around the city.
The city of Kumagaya is located about 60 kilometres north of Tokyo. Mayor Clark is planning to send a small reciprocal delegation over to Japan later this year. In Invercargill, the South Today.
17 vintage car owners have hit the road for a tour of the country, united by their love of one particular piece of motoring history. 42 days might seem like a long time to tour the country by road, but it makes a bit more sense if your car's 100 years old. These vintage Bentleys and their owners are on a 4,000 kilometre scenic road trip around New Zealand. They started in Christchurch and will finish up in Auckland 6 weeks later. The tour's organiser says breakdowns are always a possibility, but reckons the cars have performed admirably so far.
These were a very good car when they were new. They were very solidly designed, and these cars don't spend 11 months in a museum and then just get hauled out for a quick run, because they would never finish that. But these are cars that are owned and maintained by people who like to drive them, so it does mean that pretty much as a rule, that they are very dependable.
The cars and their drivers have travelled from all over the world to take part in the tour. The group enjoyed a wildlife tour and a dinner at Wanaka Castle before getting back in their vehicles to head south on the next leg of their journey. Thousands of Dunedinites filled the city's Chinese garden on Saturday night to celebrate the Chinese New Year. Cultural performances were capped off with a spectacular fireworks display.
The night sky above Dunedin lit up with brilliant bursts of colour. This fireworks display outside the Lan Yuan Dunedin Chinese Garden, farewelling the Year of the Tiger and ushering in the Year of the Rabbit. It was the sparkling grand finale to a night of celebrations, with more than 5,000 people, young and old, enjoying the spectacle. The display almost didn't go ahead as strong winds threatened to blow out the fireworks plans. That could have forced the show to be cancelled for safety reasons, with wind gusts of up to 44 kilometres an hour reported on Saturday night. Earlier in the evening, there was an array of entertainment around the Chinese garden, including a traditional lion dance. The main stage hosted a parade of performers through the night, with local cultural groups, including members of Dunedin's Chinese community. Other cultural groups, including African and Japanese drummers, happy to join in the celebrations, returning after last year's events had to be canned due to COVID restrictions. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Whaiakane, still to come on the South Today. Irish charmers captured on camera in an historical first, marked alongside a hurling match in Queenstown, and Wanaka's annual Ruby Island Swim is a record breaker for some athletes.
Great Britain has a collection of varied landscapes and countryside to rival anywhere else in the world. And the best way to see it is to walk.
Hi, my name's Matt and I'm the Dines Group CEO. Dines is a company that's focused on selling logistics solutions to its customers. We're passionate about selling efficiency, and we've been selling efficiency for over 50 years now.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Just when you thought it was safe to get back on the sofa, My mate John's having a price frenzy! He's taken 19% off sectional lounge, 31% off coffee tables and buffets, 42% off selected clearance items and much, much more. Plus pay it off over 24 months interest free. My mate John's price frenzy!
Where did you get that furniture from? Stafford Street. And my mate John.
We're Age Concern Otago.
Age Concern Otago hosts a multitude of social activities, including little walks.
Earth is a planet of extremes. Extreme places and extreme animals. But some animals are more extreme than others. Join us as we count down to find the most unusual, the most extraordinary, the most extreme.
Tēnā koe, welcome back. Kiwi expat representatives from each of Ireland's 32 counties have gathered in Queenstown for a special historic photograph. The photo op was timed to be the precursor to an annual charity hurling match at the recreation ground.
Making history on the other side of the world, this is the first time representatives of all 32 Irish counties have come together for a game of hurling and an official photo in Queenstown. The 32 Kiwi-based players have travelled from Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch for the gathering. The Irish expat and County Down representative Declan Malone believes hasn't been done even in Ireland. Ambassador of Ireland Jane Connolly also travelled down south to welcome the team, with the event being celebrated in true Irish fashion, with a few beers and the 4th annual hurling match between Queenstown and Christchurch.
And it's just a time, I think, just to mark and celebrate the Irish community, Irish sport, and the contribution of the Irish community to New Zealand. We'll be able to come together and have a good time.
The competition's been a goal of Declan Malone's for years, with the ball finally getting rolling after the hurling fixture was initially cancelled a year ago due to COVID restrictions. But he admits it was a bit like herding sheep, with representatives cancelling at the last minute due to the torrential rain in Auckland.
Whenever he couldn't get here in time, and then to try and find someone else and to be running around, and like we were probably a good half an hour to 45 minutes late doing it because we were trying to sort everything out, but we got there at the end and we got the full 32.
A special full 32 jersey was designed and made in Ireland just for the event. $10 from each sale of the jersey will go towards the Tara Trust, which helps support New Zealand's Irish community and mental health. In Queenstown, the South Today.
Hundreds of swimmers hit the water in Wanaka over the weekend to compete in the Ruby Island Swim Day. Swimmers ranged from primary school pupils through to serious athletes, with a few blowing course records out of the water.
Junior swimmers racing their way around the buoy as they headed for the finish line. The sun was shining over Lake Wanaka on Saturday, creating perfect conditions for those competing in the annual Ruby Island Swim. Competitors of all ages took to the water to take part in a series of races. 460 people joined in this year, the second highest number of swimmers the event's ever seen.
460 is a really good number. 500 is sort of too many. So 460, 400, above 400 is great. 460 is just in the right, beautiful sweet spot for the right number.
He describes it as an exceptionally good day, with 4 course records broken over the event. Wanaka swimmer Cameron Stanley was among the stars, smashing his own 10-kilometre course record set in 2020 by nearly 6 minutes.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that. The last lap was pretty sore. I was struggling a little bit around the last lap, but yeah, got there in the end, so pretty happy.
The women's 10-kilometre race was won by Amelia Finer, who blasted the course record by more than half an hour. And there was success by Ian Dixon Anderson, who beat the men's 5k record, and Olivia Thornberry, who broke the women's Ruby Island 2.5k time to complete a day of records. In Wanaka, the South Today.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. Opposition leader Christopher Luxon visited Southland voters, also checking out Edendale's Crank Up Festival. Invercargill's mayor met with the visiting delegation from Kumagaya, agreeing to continue their sister city relationship. And Dunedin welcomed in the Chinese New Year in style, with cultural performances and a spectacular firework display. And now we'll look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT, and we welcome the editor, Barry Stewart. Hi there, Barry.
Hello, Hannah.
What can we expect tomorrow?
Well, an expert has warned that the loss of 12 psycho-geriatric beds at the new Dunedin Hospital, and this came as a result of a column written by Pete Hodgson in the paper yesterday, or today, and it's a crucial issue for an ageing community. So concerns about that, and we have a discussion about that. Yep. Another interesting story in Queenstown, the closure of Queenstown's public pools at weekends due to lifeguard shortages has highlighted a housing issue in the resort where lots of businesses can't find accommodation for their workers. So council staff are living in vans, and there's a whole range of stories around that. So, you know, it's an issue that we're hearing more and more. So, in a story that has been going on for some time, the consents for a controversial dairy barn enclosure in Te Anau, well, that has been approved, given the go-ahead with some strict conditions. So. Find out all about that.
Yeah, we look forward to reading. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
And time now for a look at tomorrow's weather.
The South Today weather, proudly brought to you by MoleMap, the skin cancer detection specialists.
Looking at the situation, a warm and rather humid week is on the way as north to northeasterly airflow dominates. Heading to the top of the South Island, fresh and gusty nor'easterlies are on the way tomorrow with high cloud. Expect 24 in Nelson, 25 over in Greymouth and 23 down in Christchurch. Travelling to South Canterbury and North Otago, cloudy with nor'easterlies making their way down and through here tomorrow. Highs of 23 in Ashburton and Timaru with 22 in Oamaru. Heading westwards to the Central Lakes, and the scorches continue. Expect light northerlies and cloud with passing light showers, but by numbers it's a 27-degree day in Wanaka, 26 over in Queenstown and 28 down in Alex. Heading further south, well, high cloud with northerlies through here, 27 degrees in Balclutha and Gore, while the Catlins can expect fresh nor'easterlies with 22 as the high. And down to the deep south, fine in Invercargill and down to 11 degrees overnight. Now the next 2 days will be hot and humid with high cloud, northerlies and up to 28 or 29 degrees. And finally heading to Dunedin. Fine tonight with nor'easterlies and a 15-degree low. Tomorrow's looking sunny to start before a cloudy afternoon with light winds and 22 degrees as the high. Into Wednesday, well, more of the same really, with overcast skies and gusty nor'easterlies with a humid 23 degrees. And that's the news this Monday. For the latest news and videos from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz. And you can follow Channel 39 on YouTube to catch our news bulletins on demand. We'll see you again tomorrow. Ka kite o pōpō.
Public interest journalism funded through New Zealand On Air.